Well, welcome, Johon. I appreciate you stepping up to do this little talk tonight. Barb and I, we have a strong connection to Alaska. We moved up there. Well, your Uncle Howard moved up there many years ago, and he was up there back and forth, and then settled in Delta Junction, as you know. And he always talked up Alaska. He thought, oh, this is the best place. You got to come up here. You got to come up here. And in 1980, I had a chance to go back to college. So I thought, well, I could go up to Fairbanks and go to school for a couple of years and then come back down to OSU and finish down there. That was my plan. I had some bad grades at OSU to make up for, but I thought, well, this is a good time to do that. So we went up there for a short visit, liked it, went back up there, and ended up staying there for 7 years and graduating from UAF in Fairbanks. And Howard had a big influence on me in that way. And your mom, when she was young, she went up to stay with Uncle Howard. And you can update us on that whole story if you like. But we spent some time with your mom up there. Saw where she was living in Anchorage at one point. And while we were up there, our youngest son, Joe, was born in Fairbanks. So we have an Alaskan baby in our little family. So we've got a good connection and good memories of Alaska. And Alaska is your home. I want to turn the mic over to you and tell us your story.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Uncle Lance. And first off, I want to apologize. I thought that this was to begin at 5 o'clock Alaska time, so the whole time zone got mixed up. Yeah, but as you all know, my mother, EchoHawk, she moved up to Alaska after grandpa and grandma passed when she was young, and she met my father actually in Anchorage. My father was working on the pipeline at that time, and when they met, they came to my father's reservation here in Metlakatla, Alaska, and we are the only reservation in the whole entire state. There's native communities, there's villages, but we actually are the only village that has reservation status, where we are truly sovereign, and we govern our own fisheries. Growing up in Alaska and here in Metlakatla, in my village, fishing is a huge part of our lives. So I grew up on a fishing boat, salmon fishing. Grew up halibuting, herring fishing. When I was 17 years old, I started commercial diving for cucumbers, for gooey ducks, and it's basically a deep Pacific Sea ocean activity. And as you've seen, my sister Shauna has been on the Bering Sea Gold. She's been on TV with the Gnome crew. Her season starts November 3rd is the first day when everybody here in the village of Metlakatla, the Tsimshian people, start their dive fishery. But I am retired. I've been diving since I was 17, and when I turned 30, when I turned about 31, that's when I was like, okay, I've had enough. It's so I retired from fishing and diving, and it was because I was always away from home. I was missing birthdays. I was missing my wife, and so I'm retired from fishing, but I still do it just for subsistence. And So I guess to back up a little bit, my father met my mother, and my father is Tsimshian. The Tsimshian people have lived on this west coast for time immemorial, 10,000 years. And we are a seafaring tribe. We lived our lives out of canoes, long houses. In fact, so here we go. This is a canoe that was carved out of red cedar here in my village from a buddy of mine, and he knows that I tell stories to the young people, and I'm always sharing the culture with the youth. So he carved this canoe, and so these canoes, they would get up, the harvesting size canoes would be 15 to 25 feet, and when you go out and harvest the seaweed, the salmon, and the canoes is would go up to 100 feet, and they would hold like 50, 60, 70 warriors at the time, and those were the war canoes. And I'm proud to say that our nonprofit, we have the largest traditional canoe, active canoe in Alaska, and it's parked right in my driveway right now, and it's really great, But because of COVID, we haven't been able to take it out because it takes 18 individuals to move the canoe. But when it does, when you get 18 determined natives with just wanting to go somewhere and they're paddling at the same time, these canoes, they cut through the water so fast and so well, it will truly just surprise everybody watching these canoes, because the determination and the strength that our Indigenous people have, and I have no way to explain it, but I share, like when I get all these Tsimshian people, well, I guess Indigenous people in the canoe, and we're working together, it's that, I guess I want to compare it to muscle memory. It's that ancestral memory that just comes back, and it's just one of the most amazing things. So I want to also comment on what Uncle Howard said. Alaska is one of the most amazing places. I would love for the whole family to come up here and come to Metlakatla. I have an extra bedroom. Our nonprofit is converting a 40-foot school bus into a full-on trailer to travel around for our workshops, for storytelling, for carving. It's going to have a bed in there, sink, bathroom, everything. So I would love to have the family come up. We had Uncle Morgan come up a couple of years ago, and it was just amazing. So yeah, I have, there's myself, and then I got two older brothers, Santana, Atkinson, Grand EchoHawk, and my younger sister, Shauna Atkinson. And I was, I'm right in the middle, and I guess through everything that I've done in my life, I just want to say was because of mom, because of my mom Hilaire. She was, I always tell everybody here in my village, and they notice, they hear me say this a lot of times. I said, you know what? If it was ladylike for Pawnee woman to war whoop and yell around all the time, my mom Hilaire would be doing that on a regular basis. She was always so proud and always telling stories about Uncle or Grandpa EchoHawk, and she was always telling stories about Grandpa Whitty and his brothers, and Grandma, and as you know, I didn't grow up in Pawnee. I grew up here on my father's res. So those stories were so meaningful to me, and they really, I held them close to my heart, and then so having the family that I did with my brothers and my sisters and my mom, we started a nonprofit, Liwaayda, and Liwaayda in my Tsimshian language translates to pull together, and that's the term when we are in our canoes. We do not say we're paddling together. When we put our canoes and our paddles in the water, we're pulling the canoe forward, and we're pulling together. And that's the term. It's the whole entire coast from Canada to all the canoe families in Washington, Oregon, California, to up north, that's a term, we pull together. We are our strongest and we are at our fastest when we pull together. So I was fortunate enough to, because of my work with the young people, I've been a counselor here in my village in the state of Alaska for going on 8 years now. I was asked to go on a canoe journey from Metlakatla, British Columbia to Metlakatla, Alaska. And the history behind that, back in 1887, 1,000 Tsimshian people, my father's tribe, left British Columbia to escape the missionary influence. And there was this rogue missionary, his name is William Duncan, who left the church as well. So him and 1,000 Tsimshian people jumped in their canoes, and it was actually a pretty sad time for the Tsimshian people, because the 1,000 Tsimshian people that left, they left their families behind, they left their traditional territory behind, they left everything behind, and they paddled up north looking for new area to basically start over again. And in my area, there's 3 main tribes in Southeast Alaska: the Tsimshian, which is my father's tribe, and Tlingit, which is my wife's tribe, and Haida. So the Tlingit nation, which was a neighboring tribe of the Tsimshian, their chief got word from one of the Tsimshian scouts saying, "You guys are looking for land? Well, we have an old fish camp in this area." And so the story goes is that the canoe pulled in with all the scouts and with the Samoyeds, with the chiefs. And in our village, at the head of our village, it's this big, beautiful ocean, Pacific Ocean Bay. At the head of our village is a beautiful waterfall. And the waterfall was going, and there was salmon jumping, and there was seals and sea lions and whales and eagles were going over. And then that's when they stopped. This is where we are going to live. So then all the canoes, they all pulled up on this point, this part of the beach here in Metlakatla that we actually turned into a park, and we have a huge Tsimshian totem pole to honor that spot. And we made Metlakatla a net island, our land, and we went to DC and asked for this land to be granted in reservation status, this to be ours. And it was the best thing that ever happened to the Tsimshian people of Alaska. This island is, the resources here, with the salmon, with the diving, with the hunting, and it's just with the trees, with the red cedar. In fact, last time I went down to Pawnee, which was about 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, and when I picked out red cedar, because red cedar here is so beautiful and it smells so good, and I picked out red cedar from the same tree, and I passed it out to all the families. And I would love to be able to send some cedar down to the family as well, but it was so through the influence of mom, of my mom Hilaire, she's always been someone who I've always looked up to. She's always been that activist. My earliest memories was when I was 9 years old, at Leonard Peltier rallies. We were in Olympia, Washington, trying to abolish the name Crazy Horse because they wanted to use the Crazy Horse beer. And there's so many things that I remember my mom was telling me, that we have to stand up for. As Indigenous people, we have to always stand up for the things that we need to stand up for. She would word it, that would really resonate with me. So we started this nonprofit after I went on the canoe journey. It took 7 days from leaving Metlakatla, British Columbia, our old Tsimshian territory. And that was just amazing. It was like going back to the motherland. It was just so amazing to go back to my father's original land before Metlakatla, Alaska. And there was 200 of us, and we jumped in 11 canoes, and we followed that same path. Off we went. And we stopped at all the villages, and to be on the marine highways of my Tsimshian ancestors was, there are no words, and to see the whales would come up, and it was salmon, and it was just the smell of the Pacific Ocean, and it took 7 days. And so after that whole entire experience, it was a life-changing experience. The moment that we started Liwaayda, and so my mother was right there with me. She sat next to me in the canoe, and it was amazing to be able to go on that traditional canoe journey with my mom Hilaire. So the moment we started our nonprofit was our last day. We finally got to our village here in Metlakatla, Alaska, and the whole village was in celebration. It was like a very historical moment because canoes have not landed on our island, for over 100 years, because as with most missionaries, we lost our culture. There's so many things away. So when our canoes came around the corner, and there's a point where you come around a corner and you can see the whole entire village, like a half a mile of shoreline. And there was 1,000 people. The whole village was on the shoreline, and it was just the emotions and the feelings. And when I first went down, I brought down 6 youth, 16 through 19 years old, and there's 4 clans in the Tsimshian people. And as you see, this is the Raven. This is that's my father's clan, and I brought down a couple kids from each clan to represent that clan. And these are young kids who had a pretty hard life. They've been through things and seen things that they shouldn't have gone through. So I took them down with me, and at 7 days of just traveling on a canoe journey, and we came around a corner, and we finally made it. And we every single paddle, we must have paddled 1 million times to get from country to country. And it was all those young people. There was a huge, you could see it, you could feel it, of healing, of strength, of pride. They were sitting up in their canoes, so tall, and they had their paddles, and all of our paddles, we have our traditional crest on them, and then we made it. And right then and there, I was like, Mom, we need to keep this going in our village. And it was just amazing. So through Liwaayda, we fundraised nonstop to get our first canoe. And after 2 years of selling cheeseburgers, selling cupcakes, bake sales at our one grocery store, countless donations, and we finally did it. We finally got the biggest 40-foot traditional canoe. And if you go on our Liwaayda Facebook page, you'll see it, and it was a huge accomplishment, and then through the work that I do, I work with the young people. I work with men working through addictions. A lot of my work has been with domestic violence and ending all forms of assault here in the state of Alaska. We use it to inspire and heal and strengthen and bring together, address things that, in society that we don't normally address, and things that we don't normally talk about. So many things have blossomed through Liwaayda. We have, we have a youth mentorship dance group that we used to meet every week in our longhouse before COVID, and it was a mentorship. And on our website, that we have some documentary teaching the young people what respect is, our traditional values, and they would go out every single twice a month and harvest our traditional Tsimshian foods to cook and feed our elders. And we would have a clothing closet that would help our village and surrounding villages with basic needs, socks, shirt, underwear, shampoo, stuff like that. Because all that's connected, with poverty and, domestic violence and with suicide. Everything is connected in one way or another. Everything plays an influence into each other. So I've come to learn that you just can't confront domestic violence. You have to really heal the whole village and get everybody working together. And when I realized that was when Liwaayda, our nonprofit, with my mom and my brother Grant and Shauna, we started, my brother Grant and I started holding men's circles where we would we would supply all the carving tools, and we would have carving. We would all carve paddles together, so we could all carve on a paddle, so that when they were finished, the day comes, we could all go out in a canoe together. Well, month went by, nobody showed up, because it was advertised as men to come. We want to end domestic violence, you want to be that change. And 2 months went by, nobody showed up. And it was a learning experience. But then when I realized that it was a community effort and you can't really just confront it in our Indigenous communities, was we also have a biker club, which the kids called a biker gang, where the whole village all the kids, they would all go on their bikes, and we'd all travel around together, take up the whole road. It's one of the most amazing, fun things that we do. And so one day, after we had a lot of our outings, the father of one of our biker clubs walked in the door. And then next week, the son of one of the elders that we fed walked in the door. And then same thing, a family, the head of the household that would come and benefit off our clothing drive, basic needs, he walked in the door. Because so then it made me realize, we can't advertise that we're working on domestic violence, and once these people started realizing how so many things, so many programs affect so many other parts of their life, that's when things really started taking off, and so that's one of the things that I share throughout Alaska. When you can't just confront sexual assault, you can't just confront suicides, you just can't confront domestic abuse. You have to confront everything. because that's that balance that my mom has always told me that we have as Indigenous people in our lives. Everything is connected, and there's that balance. Everything is a whole. Everything, and especially here in my village, there's no roads to and from in Metlakatla. The only way off and on my island is by boat or plane. So you come here, you're stuck, and everybody knows. It's so close knit. Everybody knows what everybody's doing. Sometimes even before you even do something, like, oh, hey, I heard you did something. Oh, what? No, I didn't. So it's and some people view that as a bad thing. And I did when I was growing up too. But we have to change our views on that. I view it as a good thing, because the small things that we do, the good things that we do in the village get spread. I'm taking advantage of how Metlakatla is. But yeah, it's that's, I guess, a small little short story of how our nonprofit has was started. And nowadays, I'm going through a huge transition in my life right now. Just recently, I just quit my job at the counseling center that I've been working for 8 years, because it was just bad leadership, and I wasn't able to work with many people. For 8 years it was always one-on-one. And it was great. It was beautiful, and I loved it, and I learned a lot. But now I'm really working full time with the nonprofit Liwaayda, and with my counseling skills, I'm sharing stories with the school districts in Alaska, with Anchorage, with Nome, with the school districts here in my village, and it's all virtual. because everybody right now wants comfort and relief, because everybody's stressed because of COVID, because of all of our lives have been turned upside down, from working from home, from losing family members, from the worry of just, there's so much stress in the world right now. So my history was working with the schools, telling stories was a lot of volunteer time. And I just recently walked away from my counseling department so I could use my counseling skills and my counseling degrees and everything that I earned, and use it in a traditional aspect. So I use a lot of our stories to, heal and inspire. And I would love to share a story one of these times and kind of break down how I tell a story, because there's so many things that when I'm working with young people, or working with teenagers, or even when I'm telling stories to a group of adults, there's so many things that you have to understand on how just to captivate and to be able to create a space where you can teach and inspire.
Well, feel free to take the time if you want to tonight.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, more than happy to share a story. It's and first, let me Miles, come over here and say hi real quick. This is my youngest son, Miles. It's his birthday tomorrow. Say hi, Miles.
Hi.
Yeah, his birthday tomorrow, so he's pretty excited. Hand me that drum, Miles. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the short, condensed version of one of a really great story that I tell. So when I work with young people, one of the things I always do, when you tell a story, you hold the drum to your mouth, and it really amplifies your voice, and that creates young people to like, whoa, hey, what's this guy doing? And if you get young people to laugh together, to laugh, they're doing something together, and you want to be able to have people to do things together. It's an icebreaker. So one of the stories I tell is called The Box of Songs. And in this story, here you see Raven, and I don't know if you all have ever heard of the story of Raven, but Raven is one that he's trickster, and he stole the sun and the moon and the stars and released them to the sky. And this story right here is actually, it's a clam, and this is our creation story from the Tsimshian people. Well, that's a whole another long story, and I would love to share that one of these days as well. So this story is The Box of Songs, and the story I tell to young people to believe in themselves and to be able to help their peers when needed. So I would always start out with the drum, and if anybody had the drum, I do this as well. Long ago, and it really amplifies. So when the world was just created, it was a lot different than what it is right now. In fact, when the world was just created, the sky was actually so low that it made you hunch over, because it was always on your back. And wherever you went, you always had to hunch over. And one day, clamsham in my Tsimshian culture is with the young people, I say a Tsimshian superhero. He's a shapeshifter. He transforms into Raven who stole the sun and the moon and released them. So Clamsham, the shapeshifter, and he was like Superman. There's stories of him flying down to a salmon creek where the salmon come up, and he'd grab the crick and he'd roll up like a newspaper, and he put it in his pocket, transform into a raven, and fly away to another village who didn't have food, and he unraveled it in front of them, and they forever had a salmon crick. So Clamsham, he was walking, and he was bent over, and he goes, you know what? I had enough. And he went and he found the longest stick that he could find. And he grabbed it. And he put the stick on the sky. And he shoved it up as hard as he can. And the sky went to where you see it is now. And when that happened, something else happened that he wasn't anticipating. What I use is usually with the schools, they have a box of tissues. I grab a box of tissue. The box of all the beautiful songs of the world, all the beautiful songs that also went up with the sky, also got stuck up in the sky, having that flute. So there was no more beautiful songs in the world. So when all the flute players would play their songs, it would sound like this. Nothing. And then when they would sing their beautiful love songs, it would sound like this. Nothing. Because all the beautiful songs of the world were now up in the sky. And everybody on the world that were sad, and they're like, oh no, what are we gonna do? All the songs are up in the sky. Ah. Just then, the birds of the world, they all flew down. And they said, we will get these songs. We will fly up and save the day and get all these songs. Then this world they will know that the birds have brought back all the beautiful songs. An eagle flew down. I will get these songs. He opened up his giant wingspan. I will get these songs. And Raven said, no, I will fly up. And hawk and owl. And even little tiny Tweety bird, about this big, he flew in with his little tiny wings. And he says, I'll get these songs. And all the birds, they laughed, go, ha, ha, ha. You can't get these songs. Look how small you are. You are not strong enough. And they kicked dust at his face, and he had dust at his face, big cloud of dust disappeared. And it hurt his feelings. But he didn't stop believing in himself. And he goes, I'm not going to listen to you all. I know I could help. And he turned around, he jumped up in his little tiny wings, and he flew up in the bushes, and he's watching everybody. So the short version, Raven said, I will go up and get these songs. He goes to the side of the mountain, and he would count. And in my Somali language, Kul is 1, Kupul is 2, Kuli is 3. So all the birds, they all counted down Raven. Kul, Kupul, Kuli, and Raven bent his little raven knees and poof, took off, jumped off the side of the mountain. Hoo, 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 higher and higher, heading straight for the box of songs. And he could see it because he has his raven binoculars, and he's flying, he's going faster and faster, and he's flapping his wings for hours. Hours go by, 3 hours go by, he's flapping his wings, 4 hours go by, and his wings get so heavy, they feel like 100 pounds, and he could barely lift his wings up, and he's still so far away from these songs, and he gives it his all, and he gives it so much that his wing cramps up. And he goes, no, I got to get these songs. And his other wing cramps up. And he goes, oh, no. And he starts falling toward the earth. And all the other birds that were on the ground, they're looking at Raven falling down. And they have their bird binoculars. Oh, here he comes, here he comes. And Raven comes down. Raven's coming down, and he's hits the earth. Big cloud of dust. And Raven, he gets up. Once the dust settles, Raven had a big branch sticking out of his head and mud on his face. And he says, I can't do it. Those songs are too high. We could never get those songs. They're lost forever. And just then, Hawk steps forward. He goes, I will get these songs. For you need speed. I am the fastest bird in this forest. Stand aside. He pushes Raven aside. He walks up to the side of the mountain, and all the birds count him down. Cool, Kupo, Kuli, and Hawk, poof, takes off faster than a speeding bullet. I swear, he looks just like Superman. Shoo, taking off, and he gets 4 hours go, but he gets farther than Raven, and he's flapping his wings, and his nose is pointing. He's like, I'm gonna get these songs 5 hours, 6 hours. But then his wings get so tired. Same thing as his wings feel like 300 pounds and he's pushing himself, and then finally his wings cramped up. Oh no, same thing. I gotta get these songs. That wing cramped up. Oh no, and he falls toward the earth and he hits the earth. Boom. All the birds. Oh no, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? These songs are lost forever. Just an eagle. He gets up. He goes, I should have got these songs. I should have started to begin with. For you need strength. And he opened up his giant wingspan. Stand aside. And he walks to the side of the mountain. And he bends his little legs, his little eagle kneecaps. All the birds count him down. Cool. Goople. Just then, little Tweety bird who was watching in the bushes, he jumps up and he flies toward Eagle, and he jumps on Eagle's back without Eagle knowing. Quickly! Whoo! Eagle takes off. Whoo! Whoo! And little Tweety bird's hanging on for dear life. And with each flap of the wings, his little face is getting pushed down. And he wants to scream, but he can't scream because he doesn't want Eagle to know he's on his back. So he has his mouth is open. His mouth is open, but nothing is coming out. And he's flapping higher and higher. Whoo, whoo. And Eagle, he covers more ground than any bird has ever covered. With each flap of his wings, that's an incredible force. Whoo. And he flaps his wings for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours. Going on 7 hours. And the box of songs have never been so close to any bird ever. But then Eagle's wings start to get tired. He goes, no, they're so close. And he flaps and he flaps. And he's giving it his all. He doesn't want to give up. He's giving everything he has into it. But then his wings gave out. And his wing cramped up. Just like all the other birds. He goes, no, no. And he's flapping his wings. And his other wing also cramped up. No. And as he's flying, or as he's falling down, little Tweety bird jumped off his back, jumped off his face, and kicked off of his forehead, sending Eagle falling down to the earth even faster. And his little tiny wings were flapping, and he was all over the place. And he was flying and flying, and he's doing this for like 15 minutes. And finally, he reaches the songs. And little tiny Tweety bird, he grabs the songs, and he's looking at the songs and himself, and the songs and himself. I did it. But then the songs were too big for him. And he starts falling toward the earth. And he's trying to have any type of control he can from that one wing. And just then, Eagle, poof, hits the earth. And all the birds gather around. What happened, Eagle? He goes, those songs up there are too. And they looked up and they seen little Tweety bird coming down. Watch out, I'm coming in hot. Watch out, Houston, we have a problem. And and the Tweety bird lands, poof. And he's looking at all these songs. You look at the birds and all their beaks dropped, and Tweety bird's beaks dropped. And then all the big birds, eagle and owl and raven and seagull and albatross, they walked over and said, give me those songs, Tweety bird. And you know what Tweety bird said? He said, no, you are not going to get these songs because you all need to learn a lesson. When I first told you that I was going to go up and get these songs and I wanted to help, you said no. You said I was too weak. You said just because I wasn't strong enough and big like you all, that I didn't even stand a chance. Well, look what I got now. So what I'm going to do to teach everybody a lesson, I'm going to take all the most beautiful songs of the world, and I would have a tissue box with the kids, and they love it. Beautiful songs of the world, and I give the most beautiful songs to all the smallest birds of the world. Just the small birds. So when you all hear the most beautiful songs coming from the forest, know that those songs are coming from the smallest birds. And they're to remind us that if just because other people don't believe in us, just because people say we're different, just because they say that we're not strong enough, what matters is that you believe in yourself and you never stop believing in yourself. And I know everybody here has heard those songs in the springtime and the summertime of those birds singing those beautiful songs. And those songs are to remind us that we always have to believe in ourselves. So that's one of the stories that I tell the kiddos, and through yeah. And right now, I'm working with the Anchorage School District and the Nome School District, and I'm telling these stories, but I'm breaking it down to what the plot is, what the who the characters are, what the problem is, and then the solution. And I'm helping all these young kids understand that so they could write their own story that helps them with their own problems, you know, because there's a lot of young suicide in Alaska, unfortunately, is really bad again. All these small native villages, you know, and just all these kids, you know, they're with COVID, you know, there's a lot of disconnection. They can't be among their peers as they once were. And things were already bad before COVID, you know, so now that's one of the reasons why I left my job, because I wanted to be able to connect with the young people and use what I've learned on a more broader spectrum. You know, because all these stories, you know, I tell all these kids, you know, this story is thousands of years old, you know, it has clamsham in it, you know, clamsham has, you know, in our Tsimshian history is created the world, you know, created the world. So these stories are, you know, 10,000 years old, but at one point they were new. At one point they were being told for the very first time. So you all are going to be able to learn how to tell a story that's going to help and inspire other people, and it will forever be on this land. You know, and then a lot of kids they're identifying, they feel disconnected with family, or there's you know, bullying, being judged, you know, and the typical teenager stuff, you know, because you always want to be accepted, you know, when you're young, you know, 16 years old, not being accepted in your peers, and you know, is a big thing. So having them learn the skills on how to tell a story and what all entails of a story and why it's important. You know, right now they're all working on creating a story of their own. Yeah, which is really cool. And one of the stories that I wrote was inspiration off the movie Apocalypto, and our modern day thing, and our modern day problems that the issues that I faced in my own personal life, but I used it as Tsimshian. I used my Tsimshian culture, you know, two Tsimshians, they pull into a Tlingit village. Long story short, they steal back this beautiful blanket that this warrior's girlfriend used to be her father's. Her father died in a battle. The blanket got taken from the chief, and it was rightfully taken. You know, they lost that battle, and he said, "This is mine. I earned this." Well, the Tsimshian, you know, being indigenous, you know, we're pretty fearless. He sneaks in that village, steals the blanket back. As soon as he's running out of the longhouse, the whole tribe is chasing him. He jumps off cliffs, waterfalls. Long story short, he gets the blanket back to that's his girlfriend, and she has a peace of mind. You know, so that story was created because of, you know, me doing my best to be able to learn our culture. You know, be able to learn the values of the Tsimshian people and the Pawnee people. You know, and one of the things that really stuck with me is I was talking with Adrian, and he always helps me with the Pawnee language. And I it's been a while, but I think he told me that Tata Chikstehu, correct? I think Tata Chikstehu is our way of saying thank you, but it translates to you have made my heart happy, or something similar to that. I could be wrong, but I have it written down. But here in my village, and the Tsimshian people, we have the same exact thing. We have the same meaning. Luam Godu is our, make our heart happy, and there's no actual word for thank you in my Tsimshian language. The closest translation is I am now bound to you, but not being bound as a bad thing. Being like, I will repay this good deed that you did to me to you, because I want you to feel how I felt as a good thing, and there's no word for please, because I believe that's how our indigenous people have survived in this land for 10,000 years, because things were given without having to ask. And it's common to say, please is a form of begging, and sometimes people take that the wrong way. But no, I'm not. I don't mean that take the wrong way. But you shouldn't have to say, "Can I please have this water?" Because I'm gonna already give you a water with the ice cubes and an umbrella, before you even have to even say it. That's just our way to be able to help people. So, learning the language really helped me understand that the way that our English language really just takes away our values and our traditional way of life, and so being able to use all that, through the nonprofit, through my history as a counselor, and then being able to use that in a cultural approach is a lifelong dream of mine. And it's been after 8 years of working at the place I've been at, last week I quit my job, and I've never felt so amazing to be able to do that and to be able to actually do the work that I feel like that I was born to do, and I owe it to my mom, man. And my father, he taught me hard work, and because of that, I fished all over Alaska. But my mom, Hilaire, the stories that as she would tell me, Grandma Chris, she would talk about her all the time, and I just know that she was the sweetest lady that ever, and Grandpa Whitty, and yeah, so things that, and just my mom, she was so proud to be Pawnee, and she's here in my village surrounded by Tsimshian people, and the Tsimshian people, naturally, this is the funny part, naturally, we're short people. And so we're not the tallest in the bunch, but that's because we lived our life in canoes, thousands and thousands of years in canoes, and our bodies, indigenous people in this part of the world adjusted to that, and we're most of my family up here are short and stocky and real strong though. So I come along, I'm 6'1", I'm 300 pounds, and they're like, holy cows, you are the biggest Tsimshian I ever met. I'm like, yeah, it's because of my mom, Hilaire. Like, oh, okay, you're Pawnee, so yeah. So that's funny, it's cool, and just being able to learn the history of the Pawnee people, and the family history, and I was really grateful for this group, where I could connect with the family, and be able to learn from the family, because I know I have so much to learn from each and every one of you all, and I definitely welcome, any conversations, any, I'm always looking for more stories, to be able to tell, because that's my thing now. I tell stories and I write music. I've been really working on getting out getting our native people to vote. Because at one point I didn't want to vote. I was like most young indigenous people, people who I'm my circle of friends. I just despised the U.S. government when I was 18 to 25, pissed off at the world, because everything that took place, and I didn't have any solutions. I was just mad, didn't want to. I was like, man, I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to participate, you know. But now I'm older, you know, now because my mom, Hilaire, talked some sense into me, and my brother Grant, a big influence, you know. It's really using the platform that I have to, with music, to really get the young people to vote. In fact, I'm going to be releasing my first album within a month, and I'm pretty excited about it. And it's all about using the rap and the hip hop in a way to connect with the young people, but in an inspirational way. Um, I just finished I think one of my best songs last night. I was up till like 2 a.m. and I did it, and I jumped out of my chair like, I did it, you know. And so yeah, it was really great. But it's top secret right now. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to share. In fact, I would love to actually share a little bit of it in this group. Can I share
Oh yeah.
a little intro of it? Yeah, let me see if I could do it. So share screen. Okay, now it's a top secret, so no one's allowed to record it or anything. Okay, let's see. So how do I host disabled participant? Okay, let me see. So anybody familiar with Zoom and how to share audio?
I'm bumbling around a little bit here. Give me a second. Let me turn on the multi-share.
When you pick share screen, you have to make sure you choose to share your computer audio as well.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Music.
Sharing now. And
okay.
Let me ask you a question. The recording's on. Do you care if it's recorded?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So I saved Grandpa in my screensaver. So, okay. Can you guys see my screen, or can you guys only just hear it?
We can only hear it.
Okay, here we go.
Hearing your sound only.
Okay, can you hear that?
I heard something.
Okay, here we go.
We will continue to use our voices to be that change in the world. We will continue to use our voices to stand up and fight for justice, for our right and equality for all.
Now let's all take a moment and listen to the young people and hear what they have to say about these current times. The way things are, they're in for a fight, so we gotta educate the future of this world. The next generation will be the politicians, lawyers, teachers, and the warriors fighting for their rights. So we gotta make sure we have a clear understanding of the civil rights movement and equality for all. Now the first woman warrior who we need to know is Alaskan homegrown Elizabeth Paradovich. Say her name with me now, loud and proud. Elizabeth Paradovich, an indigenous warrior who fought for our rights, looked the colonizer in the eye and educated everybody in the room of the Bill of Rights. So from here on out, remember February 16th, Elizabeth Paradovich Day. Elizabeth Paradovich Day. That's the day that we celebrated the signing of the first Anti-Discrimination Act into law. In honor of the warriors before us, let's continue to work together and follow Dr. King's dream. Solidarity with Nettie Jones, solidarity with Rosa Parks, and to our brother Russell Means, we'll continue the fight. Through our voices, through our presence, we'll never stop until they free Leonard Peltier, Leonard Peltier, Leonard Peltier.
I've only two concerns in my life: racism and freedom.
I will protect this land, I will protect the water, and I will stand up for all people of this world. Stand up, speak up where it's needed. If you're a woman in this world, know your worth. Because there ain't nothing more powerful than a sister helping a sister and a brother helping a brother. That's where it's at. What we do now will have an effect on our future. So do well, do good, give it your all. Because we got so much at stake, we gotta do better. Let's infiltrate that system and beat it from within. Reminding everybody in this world that we're not only protectors of this land, protectors of this water, but we're warriors for the people, and ain't no one gonna stop us, cause just like our ancestors, ain't no one backing down.
So that was my little intro on my song, and I'm really excited on how it turned out. You know,
Thank you. That was great.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Paradovich is actually, so 10 years before Martin Luther King, 1945, the first anti-discrimination act that was ever signed in this country was from Elizabeth Peradovich. She's a Tlingit woman who stood up to the Alaskan, to the state of Alaska, because they said that she couldn't live in a certain part in Juneau. And at that time, there were signs all over in Ketchikan and Juneau and all the communities that are nearby. Their signs were "No natives or dogs allowed," and it was a really, really terrible time. So Elizabeth Peradovich, she stood up against that, and she went on. She has famous quotes. She's a hero of mine, and she had 10 years before Dr. King took his fought for his movements. Elizabeth Peradovich was this country's first woman to stand up and for, human rights, civil rights. It was just an amazing woman. And that's one of the things that we really try to teach the young people here, and the Tsimshian kids, the Tlingit kids, the Haida kids here in Alaska, is you have to know who Elizabeth Peradovich is. She's from Alaska. She has changed laws. She's responsible for, Indigenous kids being able to go to school, being able to walk into restaurants here in the state of Alaska. She's an amazing woman. I suggest everybody look her up. She's a hero of mine. Of course I had to write a song about her, and it was, being able to write songs and have all these kids, because all these res kids here in my village, they all know my songs, and when I hear them singing about respecting themselves and respecting each other, that's all the success I ever need. It's like teaching respect, and so yeah. But I've been, it's pretty cool. I tell my wife, how many people do you know that you could say quit their job to become a rapper? She just laughs about it. But I'm totally enjoying this new path. I guess I'm going through a huge transition in my life. It was so. Yeah. Well, geez, I feel like I've been rambling on for a long time. Thanks for listening. It's a lot. It's kind of what I do up here in Alaska, and I look forward to going back to Pawnee again and visiting family once the pandemic is over, and we'll be bringing lots and lots of seafood, salmon, halibut, octopus, abalone, everything, every traditional food that the Tsimshian people have, smoked fish. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. That was excellent. You confirmed a belief that I've held for a long time. I've done some of my own counseling work. I've worked as a counselor. I've worked in agencies that work with adults and work with youth. And my observation is not everybody can be a youth counselor. That there's a special gift. I think youth counselors come with some kind of special packaging in their spirit. And it's not something you can teach. It's something you just are, you got it or you don't. And I'm really proud of what you're doing. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks, Uncle. That means a lot.
Now, are you open to some questions or some?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd love to hear some people.
Hey, okay. Hey, Johon, this is your Aunt Helen. That was wonderful.
Hey, Auntie. Good to hear
And
your
I'm
voice.
I'm gonna call you tomorrow. I think I still have your number.
Yes.
Because I'm a storyteller, and I've got some stories, Pawnee stories.
I will be all ears, Auntie.
All right. It's good to see you.
Yeah, I will probably record them, just a heads up.
And are those braids? Do you have braids now?
Yeah, I'm growing. So since my canoe journey, like I said, it was 2013. It was changed my life. So I told myself I'm never gonna cut my hair again.
Boy, when you were younger, you were the spitting image of your Uncle Ugg. Really looked like an EchoHawk. That's good. Handsome.
Yeah, thanks, Auntie. Yeah, I seen a picture of Uncle Howard when he was 20, and I swear I was like, "Is that me? That's crazy."
Oh, no. We can't have two Howards.
Scary.
Well, what kind of thoughts, reactions, responses came up as you listened to this story? It's a powerful story.
Hey, Lance, this is BC. So I have been hearing about Johon's work for quite some time because, as you know, I work with SAMHSA, which is substance abuse and mental health um, agency, and we work with prevention. And one of my colleagues with the company I work for has actually is out of Anchorage, and he spent some time living in the Alaska area and moved back there a couple years ago. Gary Newman, he's Salish Kootenai, and he's worked and met Johon and speaks very highly of his work. And I am a Facebook friend of Johon, and I see a lot of the things both he and Tia do, and I too am very, very proud of you. And you know, I hope you are able to continue what you're doing. You know, the songs are great. Just know that some of us have heard of Elizabeth before. You know, those of us, I think, who've worked in the national field, I didn't know all the details that you had, but I certainly knew her name and
Awesome.
And what she has done in your area up there for the Alaska Natives. But yeah, I just say I can't encourage you enough to keep up doing what you're doing. I agree with your Uncle Lance that not everybody's cut out to work with kids. And for some reason, kids love me, but I am not a kid person, you know. But they'll come running up to me and talk to me, and I don't know. It's odd, but of course, my own little nieces and nephews, I'm happy to be around. It's just those strangers. But yeah, keep up the good work.
Oh, thanks, cuz. Cool.
BC, I see you put up your dad's picture, and there's a strong resemblance here.
Yeah, the first time someone, I think Helen had told me, and then someone sent me a picture, or it could have been Holly, one of the two of them, who hadn't actually seen you in a while, Johon. And when they saw you, they said, "Oh my gosh, you know, Hilaire's son looks just like your dad." And they sent me a picture, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he really does." You know, it
Wow.
was it kind of blew my mind. So this is a picture of him probably in his late 30s. He was still with his first wife at the time.
Handsome, very handsome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look forward to learning more stories, you know, and Auntie Helen, you know, I definitely am looking forward to that phone call tomorrow, and, you know, and any, you know, anything that I could learn and read up on, you know, and just the Pawnee people, you know, I always welcome. I remember when I went to Hawaii and I was staying with cousin Liz for a while, she had a lot of books, which I just, you know, even though the beach was there and the sun was out and I'm finally left Alaska, I still couldn't help but, you know, engulf myself in the Pawnee books she had. So yeah, you know, I definitely, you know, want to learn as much as I can and read as much as I can. So any and all info, you know, if you send my way, it will get read and it will get shared with the family. And then when I finally release my album, everybody has to share it.
In your story, you said there was a time when your people started over. You called it starting over time. And when was that? What time frame did that happen?
1887. 1887 was when the Tsimshian people arrived here on Annette Island in Southeast Alaska. And, you know, it was a pretty sad time, you know, from all the stories, you know, that have been told and all the songs that are shared, you know, because it was the clans and the families, we divided, and it was summertime, and that's the time where we're out harvesting our salmon, that's the time we're out hunting, and, there's just so much. But during the height of of us harvesting and getting ready for the winter, the Tsimshian tribe, in that part of the Tsimshian tribe, they broke apart. So then it was, and there's a story that is well known when there's a part on the other side of our island, because our island is, I think, 57,000 square. I can't remember the number exactly, but it's a pretty big island. But when everybody was in their canoes, everybody was crying, and everybody was paddling, because they had to leave their family behind, had to leave their community behind, and everybody was crying. And then one of the matriarchs of that clan, because our canoes were divided up by clans. There's the Lashkeeg Eagle clan. That's my wife and sons, because whatever the woman is, that's the name, or that's the clans of the children. And Gunhutta, that's the Raven clan. That's my father's clan. Lahibu Wolf clan, that is my clan. And Gishbu Gwada, which is the Kilowatt clan. So the canoes were divided up. There was all the Lashkeeg and one, all the Gunhutta and all the Lahibu, and then there was lots of them. And so the story goes is that everybody was crying, and then the matriarch, one of the elders, she was up in the bow, and the elders sit up in the bow, and they don't got a paddle. They just tell stories and sing songs and pass food out and stuff. So she turned around and she hit her paddle on the hull of the canoe and made a real loud noise, poof, poof, poof. And she says, "That is enough. We will cry no more. Every single one of us will enter in this new land, in this new territory, with healing hearts. It may hurt now, but our hearts are going to begin to heal, and we're going to continue to get to know this land, and this land is going to make us happy." So there was a famous quote that took place. So there's a song that was written off that moment, off what was said in that canoe. Because when all the canoes finally got to the point where our landing point, which is now a pretty famous place here on our island, big park, like I said, big totem pole, that story was shared, and it was those words were shared amongst everybody, and stuck for hundreds of years. And then just recently, in the last 20 years, one of my classmates, she wrote a song, about that moment, and yeah, it's a pretty big, rich history with the Tsimshian people. We have stories that go Tsimshian people in their canoes, where they would go as far north as Kodiak, Alaska, and we have stories that go down all the way to South America. In fact, we have a potato, which we call the Tlingit and Tsimshian potato, that is unique to here in this part of Alaska. But the DNA and where it came from is from South America. So thousands of years ago, there's through the trading, and those stories validate that, because I've heard from our elders, oh yeah, the Tsimshians, when they'd go on canoe journeys, they would leave for years, because they'd leave in the springtime when the weather is getting good, and they'd paddle as far down as they can, and the farther south you go, the warmer it gets, the weather's not as bad, but they can't come back up because it's fall and winter time, so they got to stay there for years. And they would just travel south and south and south in their canoes, and live their lives for years. And yeah, so then when they finally discovered that potato that we have here, and which my wife, she runs the community garden here in the village, and she grows those potatoes. When they found out it was from South America, it blew my mind. I was like, that is crazy. And it's a very well-known potato, and they're very prized here in Southeast Alaska, because there's everybody knows there's a lot of history and a lot of travel that has been taking place to get, that potato here in Southeast Alaska, and it's still growing.
Anyone else?
Johon, thanks so much for joining us tonight and sharing your account of your life, and what a wonderful story that was really inspiring. And so I'm really glad to hear firsthand your account and what you do. And my question is for Lance. Lance, do you have a link for Johon and what is it, Liwaayda, your nonprofit, on John's page on the website? I would just like to suggest that that would be something of interest to everybody, I think.
Yeah, good call. Thank you.
Yeah, in the invite that I sent, I put some of those links in there. There's a link to the nonprofit. There's a link to Johon giving a pitch to people to go out and vote. So there's a couple other links. So if you refer back to your invite, or if you go to the Facebook page, I put that invite there too, and those same links are there.
Yeah, and right now, the activity that we're going to be doing through our nonprofit is a lot of domestic violence prevention, and helping work with the communities, because we're taking advantage of this digital format to really reach out to the men, and create online Zoom men support groups we have going on that I run here in Alaska, and all that. So that's going to be a lot of our main focus to our nonprofit as of right now, because a lot of our programs were put on hold because of COVID. We can't have big elder gatherings and dinners anymore, but we can still do a lot of other cool stuff, like telling stories, and through the nonprofit, we got a lot of contracts lined up. We're working with the schools, and using our skills to really reach out to the youth and the men. I gotta say, this is really awesome because I didn't grow up in Pawnee, and this is the most EchoHawks I've been in one general area, and it's really awesome for me. It's really heartwarming for me, because I'm surrounded by Tsimshians for the last 39 years. Nothing but Tsimshian people, So this is amazing, and yeah, thank you for making this happen, Uncle Lance and Roger. This is really cool.
Yeah. It's good for us too. And there's a lot more going on up in Alaska that we have yet to hear about. And it'd be nice to have to hear more stories about more things in the family, going on in the family that have to do with Alaska, because there's more.
Johon, I just wanted to say thanks. It was a total joy to just experience the joy that you have doing what you do and being who you are. So it was a total gift to just sit here and hear your stories, and it's actually really moving for me too. So thank you very much for sharing.
Absolutely.
And I have two questions for you. I'm curious if there's a place online where there are any recordings of your stories. I'd love to listen to more. I also wanted to comment to Aunt Helen that I would love to hear whatever stories she has. Every chance I get to hear her stories, I just eat it up. And my other question for you was, I'm just curious, like, how the family can support the work that you guys are doing through your nonprofit.
Right now, we are just really trying to learn and understand all the curriculum that has been put out there, because we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and a lot of our focus is with domestic violence and working with men, getting men engaged, getting the young men engaged, and teaching boys. That's kind of like our whole direction lately. Just if any information, or if you know any people that are also doing this work, because I know I still have a lot to learn, and that's what I want to do. I want to be able to understand how I could continue the work that has already been done in Native country, and and anything to do with the Pawnee people, the history. I want to, once I get a book, I promise you it will get read, and it was and to be able to share that with the young people, and with my sons, because learning our culture and helping young people understand who they are, is really that prevention, and that culture, that identity, so any info, and I can't stop thinking about being able to talk with Auntie Helen and hearing more stories, because it's going to help me in so many ways, and I know everybody in here, I could learn something from everybody in here, and there's just so many ways that that we could do it and continue to share information, and because there's a lot of work that needs to be done, especially in Native country, and together it can be done, if we continue to share, but I'm going to share so we do have on our webpage a link of explaining the workshops that we host, and it has 2 stories in there, I believe, and I'm going to share that link here in the chat. And it's just if you go to Liwaayda.com, and you'll see you'll run into our nonprofit, and it goes in there, it tells about our programs, tells about our storytelling, tells who's all in there. Has kind of like a canoe log where we would tell stories, or we would document on our canoe outings in our canoes, and it's a lot of fun, and it's very interactive, and I think I have the bird story in there, because the kids love that one, especially if I get a box of tissue when I hand everybody a tissue, they feel like they actually have a beautiful song, and it's just a lot of fun. But there's another story in there, I think, which one? One that I wrote was the canoe journey, and that's one coming of age, because like I said, a lot of my work is working with young boys and men. So I wrote a story about, young boys and teenagers becoming of age, and what that looked like long ago, and what we need to do nowadays, because it's so easy to be a teenager now, so easy to become, you're an adult. Like, well, no, there's a lot of things that need to be taking place, to be an adult, you have responsibility. And so, so I'm really proud of that story, and it turned out really good. So if anybody has a moment, or check it out, it's really good. And the canoe journey. Yes, and I will give my mom a hug, Sherry, because I haven't seen her in about 2 weeks as well. She was, so my mom had a close friend, one of the men who have helped me in my life. He was a medicine man, and he's in his final days in Washington. So my mom went down to be with the family, because his wife asked if she could come down and help. And when my family member passed in Washington, my family member had a really hard last couple lives. She was living on the street, and Ray, he's a close friend of the family. He really was there to really help my family member in her final days, and I'm just so grateful for him. So my mom was down there helping the family, and so I haven't seen her in a long time myself. So when I do see her, and give her a hug, and I'll give her a big hug for you too as well, Sherry. So yeah. But I'd be more than happy, I'm going to be uploading stories to our webpage now that as of last week, this is my full 100% devoted. I'm going to be sharing a lot of our workshops online. Not all of them, but we're going to be sharing a lot of workshops, recordings that we have done, and, just to continue to share information, with Native country, and sharing with what works, what has worked for us, what hasn't worked for us, and how to work with young men, and with men. So yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be really good, and I'm excited for it, actually.
Johon, do you mind if I put your website up on the screen?
Yeah.
Screen, let me share. So let's see. I think maybe an easy way to get to it is to show it on the Facebook. If you go to however it is, you get to Facebook, and
If you type in Liwaayda.com up on the search. Oh, there you go.
so I just wanted to show on the screen on the recording how you would spell that, and so there it is for future reference. And there's obviously there's some other links on there. Let's see, this one I think also goes to that. Oh, that's the link that shows where you.
Hey, that's my home. Yeah, so that's the waterfall. If you look on that picture to the left, so those two mountains, they kind of come down. So there's a waterfall in that crevice that goes all the way. Yeah, there you go. That waterfall. Yep, right there where that cursor is at. That waterfall goes all the way up to the top of that mountain there. In fact, yeah. So this was my dad's boat is actually fishing to the right a little bit. To the right, it's probably like 2 inches. This is yeah, this is our bay. My house is, I can see this, my house is like right here, and whales come into this bay, there's salmon in this bay, and it's just eagles, beautiful. Oh man, it's just so amazing. Would love to have the family come up, and we'll paint everybody's faces, and we'll put you guys in the canoe, and we'll go raid the next village.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. There was another link that I.
Also, Johon, I don't know if you noticed your Aunt Lucille's question in the chat box.
Oh, yeah. Connected to the Center of Native. I have worked with people, with colleagues in the Native American youth, and the annual tribal canoe journey. We have not been involved in that canoe journey yet, but we do have plans to participate in that. There's a lot of canoe journeys that take place on the West Coast, and they all take place at the same time. But yeah, we definitely want to represent the Tsimshian Nation, and it's my dream and goal to be able to get another canoe that doesn't belong to a nonprofit, just to the family. And I want to put 2 designs on it. I want to put a Tsimshian wolf on one side and a Pawnee wolf on the other side. And I would love to have, that's my goal, and it's going to happen, to have a wolf canoe here in Alaska, and so as you see, so this is my workstation, and I changed backgrounds. I got the Pawnee flag when I'm telling the Pawnee stories. Mud Pony is one of the most favorite stories I like telling, story of Mud Pony, and so when I do that, I change the background. I was telling kids of Nome today Tsimshian story, so I put up the Tsimshian background. But yeah, we definitely look forward to continuing to learn. I know I got a lot to learn, and I'm grateful to have family that can teach me.
Hi, this is Deb, and I'm so happy that you got on board tonight. And I just want to say the canoe journey is definitely one of my favorite stories, and I hope everybody spends time looking that one up and listening to it. And Anna Grace, put your boy right there in the sound zone so that he could hear every inch of that story. It's just incredible. One of the things that I wanted to do this summer, which we didn't get to, but this summer we had 16 AmeriCorps working with us, and we got permission, Johon, to have 35 for 2021, but we can apply to get up to 50 AmeriCorps. And so definitely we will write you in to talk to them. One of the interests that I had was we had Pawnee students that took a speech class. And I tell you, I never saw so much dread in my life, was watching these guys torture themselves, getting ready to do their final speech. And that is hard to do, to get up and to do the storytelling. And so I tried like heck to schedule you in to for those tortured souls to see what ease storytelling can be. And you've really taken it to an art form, and I'm just so proud of you. I know that probably took lots of practice, and so when we do get you on board, you may want to talk about the storytelling, how you started or practiced, or how you got started in doing that. So, but I'm really looking forward to working with you as well.
Awesome, me too. Yeah, thank you for your words. That means a lot to me. Yeah, and one of the things I tell the young people, because I tell them, when I tell my stories in the schools there, I said, okay, I'm going to tell you a story, but you have to agree to tell it to your family. And then I always tell them, it's okay if you mess up the first time. I messed up many times, like I couldn't even remember what birds flew up, and to get the box. And it was a circle the first time. I said, it's okay. It's okay if you mess up, but you just tell it over and over. And the more times you tell it, the better you'll get at it, And I think even our adults need to hear that, because I know I did, for another adult to reassure me and validate, like, yeah, you're going to mess up, Johon, and be okay with that, and I'd be more than happy to help out any way I can at Deb, to help them tell their story, because all stories need to be told, telling your story is so good, and letting other people tell their stories is so good. It's so healing, because I guess that's kind of all part of, my counseling part coming out is, allowing other people to tell their story, and where you sincerely listen and you sincerely, like, you're 100%, nothing else matters, no phones, no iPads, no whatever is in nowadays, so many distractions from everywhere, but allow someone to tell their story, is really, really powerful, and meaningful, so that's like one of the main foundations why I want to tell stories and teach people how to tell stories, because people don't communicate anymore, texting, and one of the things I like doing, I like calling people who usually text me, just to be like, you know, I'm calling you just because I want to hear your voice. And if I don't do this, you're not going to hear your voice. So yeah, you know, being able to, because I tell young people, you know, you could learn more from this story than in the next 15 minutes than you will ever learn of an hour on Snapchat or what's that new one? TikTok or whatever, you know. There's just being able to sit down and talk again, you know, and listen. Yeah, so and that's another thing is listening, you know, because it's like sometimes we just need to just shut up and listen, you know. That's what I had a lot of my mentors tell me, you know, just John, you just need to shut up and listen. Like, okay, I'm listening, you know. So yeah, it's, you know, and that's when we can learn, you know. And I know I got a lot to learn, you know, but my mind and heart, you know, because of my mom, you know, because of my mom Hilaire, you know, it's I believe that's why I listen, you know.
Good advice. Anybody else got some questions or comments?
Johon, I hope you'll give some thought at your convenience to coming back and sharing more stories. I particularly like to hear your account of the creation story you mentioned. I think that would really be a wonderful evening to hear that, as well as anything else you would like to share or focus on yourself and some more of your music.
Yeah, absolutely, Uncle Roger. You know, you go ahead and consider that done. You know, I want to, anywhere I could help out, you know, and do my part, you know, I will. Yeah, and then a lot of our curriculum as well is going to be posted online, free for download, our stories as well. So yeah, but, you know, just to be able to come in and talk with family, you know, that's all I, you know, that right there, that I could be here and talk with my family is all I, you know, that makes my night. So
I'd just like to say I love your energy. So thank you for sharing all that.
yeah, thank you, absolutely. Yeah, since I'm always surrounded by kids and stern adult men, you know, because a lot of the men that I work with are, you know, 20 years older than I am, I have to keep the energy up. Otherwise, there's a lot of dead spots, you know. And a lot of times I run into a lot of men, you know, like, why should I talk to you? You're not even 40 years old yet, and I'm 60, you know. So, yeah, there's a lot of. It was a pretty big learning curve, I guess. The easiest way to say it.
Well, this is BC again, and Johon, I just want to thank you again for joining us, and I'm glad you got my message.
Yeah. Oh man. So I thought it was 5 o'clock Alaska time, and then cousin BC asked, "Are you gonna be coming in tonight?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got 20 minutes." Oh wait, you guys are there now? So I had yeah. I was actually with my wife. I took her to the beach, and I was playing my flute and taking my time, and yeah. So my apologies, I was late because I was.
Johon, you were on Oklahoma Indian time.
I was, Auntie. I was.
You were.
We interrupted date night, it sounds like. But I just want to say again, thank you for joining us, and you know, just keep up the good work. It's always good for me to hear what you know, our younger EchoHawks are doing from other people. You know, when they come to me and say, you know, who is this to you? And I'll say, you know, my nephew. And he says, well, he's doing really good work here. You know, he's really going to be a leader, you know, as he continues his career up here. And it's always nice to hear. But I am going to jump off right now. It's getting a little later here in Central Time, and I look forward to you joining us more often. Maybe we're always on the Fridays. So everybody take care. Have a good Halloween, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks,
All right.
thanks for
There be-
putting up that
Yes.
photo of your dad. That's nice.
Oh yeah, no problem. We'll talk to you later. Bye bye.
I'm going to get off too. So I'll talk to you later, Johon.
All right, later, Auntie.
That's my cue. I'm going too. Love you.
All right, love you, Aunt Deb. See you later.
Johon, I want to make an observation before everybody is gone. In what you talked about tonight and in what we've been talking about on these calls as a group, I saw a lot of overlap. In your story, there was a good honoring of women, and I think there's been a theme of that has been in this group too on some of the topics in the past that we picked, and I'd really like to keep that in place, pick that thread back up. I think that's so important. The last speaker that we had, Carlton Gover, there's an overlap in how you and him kind of feel to me, in that there's that same spirit for the youth. And he wants to get settled in Pawnee and work with the youth. And you probably should know Carlton at some point. And then you mentioned the food, and a stray potato from South America, and it brings up the whole indigenous food topic that has been a big theme in this group. And we want to do more with that. We want to support that kind of activity somehow. The fact that you've done a nonprofit is on the table, where the wheels are turning for some kind of I presume it'll be called a nonprofit, but some kind of EchoHawk extended family organization that will do that. And so you've been working on that, and there's people on the call that are familiar with that sort of thing. So I'm sure there's more to be said and done there. And just a final thought. I don't know do you know who Fred John is? Katie John's son. He told me, and he told Barb and I, that he went to Haskell Indian College a long time ago, and he heard standing in line, like lunch line or whatever, all these Indian kids down there speaking their different languages, and he said, I could understand the Navajo language. I couldn't speak it, but it was enough similar to Athabaskan that I could tell what they were saying.
Wow.
Don't know how that happened, but that's what he told us.
Yeah, there was in fact, a couple of my Athabaskan friends, I see them post regularly that there is a connection, a bloodline connection of the Navajos and the Athabascans. So somehow, some way, there was, over the thousands of years, and the language, I guess, created its own dialect. Maybe that's not even the right term, but it's really similar. And yeah, that just blows my mind. That's so cool.
Kind of blew his too.
Yeah. But I just read this question from Sherry. I'm sorry I didn't answer it. My apologies. I got a question. Has anyone ever thought, why is there so much domestic violence in this younger generation? I guess with one of the things that we are working on, is helping the young men know who they are, and understand who you are as a person, as a human being, because we work with a lot of Indigenous people, non-natives, African American, knowing who you are. Because I'll tell you what, when I really understood, when I knew who I was as a Tsimshian man, as a Pawnee man, as an EchoHawk, and really knew who I was, then I knew that I had to walk a good path, So I guess really helping people understand who they are, because unfortunately, my my grandparents on my father's side, they were not allowed to be Tsimshian. They didn't want to teach my father the language, and so. But I'm still learning. That's just kind of my understanding on it. Sorry, if I didn't answer that question right away, my apologies.
Johon, would you be willing to share a song with your flute?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Did you have a question, Lucille?
I was just going to say I appreciated your comments about focus on young men learning and being themselves, their true selves. The same can be said for young women because in any male-female relationship, it takes both. And, with all the trauma historically that's happened to Native peoples, we can't just lay it all on men. That women too have issues that need to be resolved in terms of defining who they are. And Lance, as you were going through your sense of themes that we've heard over the weeks, I would add to that list public service, tribal service, and cultural service. That, that seems to be a focus of our family as well, giving back to Native peoples and supporting them however we can. Because of the process, we as individuals in this family grow too and learn much more about ourselves, and we become better people in the process. So thank you for all you do. I've been looking at your website, and I really hope you connect with that tribal canoe journey, because that's been going on since the late 80s.
Yeah.
And there are even communities in British Columbia that have participated. And I've not been on it, but I've been, I forget where I was in the Northwest where the canoes came in, and that was just so, I don't even know how touched I was to even experience part of that with, just the feeling of the young people as they brought their canoes in. I mean, it was just amazing. And then I once had an opportunity, and I don't know if your canoes they're seaworthy, they go to sea, not just in the, whatever you call it, where it's more sheltered. But I went to Macau and was I worked for a private foundation out of Seattle, and they chartered a seaplane, and we went to Macau for some kind of a tribal state signing agreement. And when we landed there, we helped the pilot pull up to the dock and tie up, and then we walked to the signing ceremony. But when we were leaving the dock area, somebody pointed out, and I didn't even see it until he pointed out. He said, "Look to your left. There's the macaw canoe that killed the whale." The way that we did it, or macaw people did it traditionally. And that was such a beautiful, beautiful canoe, all hand carved. And it had, I'm not sure what the significance of the emblems on it were, but it was just looking at it just made you so appreciative of the power and the spirit of the Native people who go to sea in those canoes, and that they killed their whale, and then did what they do traditionally with it. We didn't have any of the whale at the meal we went to, but the whole thing was just amazing. So hats off to the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you. That means a lot. It really does. Yeah, the Tsimshian canoes here that my tribe carve are pretty similar to the macaws. It's all one tree, very seaworthy. maybe I'm just being biased, but the art and the way our Tsimshians on the canoes were really stood out. You know, their stories that they knew when the Tsimshians were going past, because they could recognize how significant and how amazing the art was. You know, so yeah, that's. But man, what an experience to be able to be down in Macau. I just can't imagine the energy.
It was a very,
Experience.
very special day. I felt so blessed to be able to experience that day. The flight there, I mean, in the Northwest, of course, the weather can be an issue, but it was the most glorious day to fly, over Vancouver Island and then to Macau and just experience people there and to see that canoe. And hear people talk about the experience, because it hadn't been like a week or so since they had gone to sea and killed their wave. I mean, it just gave me shivers. It was amazing. So,
Yeah, easy. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd be honored to share a flute song. And now that I got a lot of more free time since I'm not working at the counseling center, I just made an announcement on my Facebook that I'm going to be recording all my flute songs and putting them available free for download to anybody who wants to download them. And then but I just bought one of these small little microphones that I could attach to my flute. So I just recorded my first song two nights ago, and I've yet to understand how to make it downloadable online yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But I know my sons could. I just gotta ask them, and they'll figure it out like that, So I just gotta get there. But this is one of the songs that I wrote. One of the first songs that I wrote when I first started playing flute. I'm gonna play these. So I got a couple of them. This is my son's. I've been teaching him how to play. It's a really high-pitched one, but I'm not too sure. I've been having problems having this webcam pick up the audio. So this one was given to me from my brother in Pine Ridge. We were doing a lot of men's work together, domestic violence. And so yeah, he gave me this one, as a gift.
Very pretty.
beautiful.
And that you said that was a song you wrote?
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
good one.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think within this week I'll be sharing all my songs that I wrote on some type of internet program or website. I'm too familiar with it, but they'll just be free to download.
Well, let me know if I can help you with that. I might be able to, because I've got a Dropbox account with a lot of space in it. So
Cool.
if you need, you probably have some resources of your own, but if that would help, it's an offer.
cool. Yeah, thank you, Uncle Lance. I appreciate that.
Well, this was great. I really appreciate you coming on and doing this. Very important, I think, for the family to piece itself together. This COVID thing has had an unexpected blessing, and if we can, as a family, begin to understand what's going on in all the different branches of the family, I think that is good for everyone, and I really value the contribution you made tonight to that. Thank you.
Yeah, and again, sorry for being late. I thought I had, 20 more minutes, and then yeah. So I'm glad BC messaged me. She's like, "Where you at? What are you doing?"
Good for her.
I have a question. Speaking of family connections, how are you related to the young man? And I got a Google alert about an EchoHawk being elected, I think, to the city council in Sitka.
Oh yeah. So that's my brother Grant.
So that was Grant. Okay.
Yeah, my mother Hilaire. She has 3 sons: Grant EchoHawk and Santana, who's my older brother, and I'm the youngest. And then yeah, so Grant was actually running for the not Sitka, but the next city over here, next to Metlakatla, and he almost got in. He was like, man, for someone who just moved to Ketchikan, and the way he ran his campaign, he was just telling everybody, I'm an Indigenous man. These are my values. We're all about helping everybody and making sure everybody is healthy. Yeah, but he never got in, but he was so close. So next time he runs, I'm guaranteed he will get in. So yeah.
So it's Ketchikan, not Sitka?
Yes.
But he didn't make it?
No.
Oh, I misread that then.
Yeah, he was close though.
Well, my brother Larry can probably relate. He almost was governor of Idaho, but he didn't make it either. That takes a lot of courage and fortitude to step up and, put yourself out there to run for public office. I was always so appreciative of Native people who do that, because it isn't easy at whatever level you're seeking public service in an elected position. So good for him. I saw him on your website. He's like vice president of your organization.
Yeah. He's my yin to my yang, because he lived his life in the corporate world, so he understands and he can talk to people who I can never talk to. But I'm the same way. I could connect with people, on a more cultural aspect, So, but when we put us together, it's like yin and yang, and yeah. So it's I'm very, very happy to have his presence and his knowledge. He's taught me so much as being my big brother in life. So much.
Please feel this look familiar.
Oh. That takes us way back, in the 1900s. 1994 is when Larry ran for governor, but he used that before then, so for his other election. He was elected in 1990 as Attorney General in Idaho.
Wow.
That was interesting to support him at the time, because John and I traveled so much in our professional lives. Airlines were giving double and triple miles. And so between our 2 mileage accounts, we paid for all of Larry's campaign travel with free airline tickets as we were raising money for him. But that's tough when people step up to run for public office. And that's why I'm such a supporter of competent Native people who step up to do that, because you really put yourself out there. You have to give it your all.
I really like the signage on his campaign.
On grants? What
Yeah,
was-
Grant put together a nice campaign logo.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'd be interested to see that too.
Yeah, it was really sharp.
Because hopefully we'll have more EchoHawks step up to public office. That would be great.
Well, Lance, I do have a suggestion. Hearing Johon and Helen have their exchange, I wonder if you'd be willing to ask Helen if she would host the storytelling next Friday.
Well, let me write that down. Sounds like a good idea to me. Okay. I'll check with her. I'll mention that to her. Johon.
Yeah, tell Aunt Helen that she made the mistake that she announced it when everybody was listening.
Yeah.
So now she has to tell the whole family.
Okay. Well, tell your mom that we all say hello next time you catch up with her. She's hard to keep up with.
Yeah, she is. You know, she's always traveling, and I should be seeing her within a week. I hope. It's been a long time, but yeah, I will. Yeah, she'll be happy to know who was all in here, and she'll be happy to be knowing that everybody said hello. Yeah, she really appreciates those.
Anyone else have any final thoughts or comments?
Well, I just wanted to say, be on the lookout for on our webpage. We're going to be sharing a lot more stories. We're going to be sharing our curriculum for the young men and the men online, you know, to share with Native country. I'm going to be sharing all my flute songs. I got to figure out, I think Dropbox is the way to go now that you mentioned it, Uncle. Yeah, so I think I'll go and do that. Yeah, so. And if anybody ever has any cool requests from your Alaskan relative, you know, like send me something cool from Alaska, you know, I'm more than happy to, and I will, you know, so yeah. Definitely been an honor to be able to be here. And like I said, you know, I'm always surrounded by, you know, Tsimshian and my dad's side of, you know, to be, even though this is digital and online, you know, it's just nice to be connecting with family, you know, it really is. It just really warms my heart. You know, there are no words. I'm just really grateful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the evening.
It was wonderful. Thank you, Johon.
Yeah, before I go, I would love to share a song. So in our, I run a drum group here in Metlakatla, a dance group as well, and as part of our youth mentorship program that we have. And this song is a prayer song, and the words you're going to hear are Nahaikom Shlagigetum. Nahaikom Shlagigetum. In my Tsimshian language, in my father's language, that translates to spirit of our ancestors. And we sing this song before we do our cold water cleanses or before a ceremony to welcome in our ancestors, calling our ancestors to give us strength, calling our ancestors to help us make the right choices in life, you know, because we look to our ancestors for the knowledge and the strength. I don't have my drumstick handy, so I'm gonna use my finger. And this song is usually sung by all men. And when there's like 12 men, it just really, really hits the soul and it's powerful. hey, hey, yo, ho, ah, hey, 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 oh, hey. Na hai gum slagi get 'em, hey, yo, ho, slow them turn, ooh, oh, hey, hey, yo, ho, hi, hey, hey, yay, hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, hey, yo, ho, hi, hey, hey, yay, hey, oh, hey. So that's our prayer song. You know, like I said, it was welcome our ancestors into the space. You know, to guide us, give us strength. Yeah, and my son, I actually should have had him come over here. He was singing it too while he's playing his Fortnite video games. And it's yeah, it's just when you get a room full of men singing that, oh, it just gives you chills. You know, just deep voices from all corners of the room, and yeah, so just wanted to share that. You know, and it's we're just gonna honor our ancestors, honor our family, honor each other, honor ourselves. You know, it's the EchoHawk way.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That would be a good way to open up the next time.